Disorganization is a feeder of fear. I'm Kenesha Hart. I am a speaker and a podcast host. I speak on how to forge through fear, and I'm a podcast host of the Coach Up podcast, where I get to talk to 6 and 7 figure coaches about how they have built their business to that level so that new, aspiring, and struggling coaches can learn how they can build their coaching business to 6 figures. So I talk about forging through fear. And today, we're going to talk about disorganization feeds your fear. Okay, so what am I talking about? I want you to think about it, right? Let's just jump into it. I want you to think about when you are disorganized, whether it's in your schedule, whether it's in your house, whether it's in your car, whether it's in your mind, whether it's in your kitchen or room in the kitchen, whether it's in your priorities, whether it's in your finances. Anytime you have disorganization, and we all know what disorganization is, but I'll define it, give a little bit of an example. Disorganization being things are out of order, things are not in their proper place. You don't know where something is at all times. So we'll use the easy one, disorganization in the house, right? So you've got in the living room, we'll use the laundry room, right? Okay. So in the laundry room, you've got some clothes that have not been washed. You've got some clothes that have been washed but haven't been folded. You've got some clothes that have been washed. They need to be hung up because they can't go in the dryer, and they're over here somewhere. You've got some of your cleaning supplies here. You've got some of the laundry detergent over there. You've got shoes strewn on the floor. You just have a lot of stuff everywhere. That's disorganized. And when you walk in, what's your inclination? You want to walk out, right? We don't want to deal with it. It's the same thing. We'll use your mind. When your mind is racing, when your mind is going through, I need to pick up the babies from the babysitter. I need to grab groceries. I also need to pay that bill. I also need to make sure that I get dinner on the table, as well as I have that email that I need to respond to. And I have to do that letter really quickly before I go to bed. And I also have to check for tomorrow and plan for that meeting. I also have to get that doctor's appointment, and I have to get my kids' school. There's a lot. And if it's all in your head, it's disorganized. When it's written down somewhere, or because we live in a technology age, it's in your phone somewhere, and you know, okay, these are the things that I have to do. This is when it's going to get done. You feel less stress. And we've talked about stress is fear-based. Okay. So that's disorganization of the mind. I could give you multiple other examples, but I think you can identify. I want you to think about, if you had to think about what's disorganized in your life right now, I'm sure you could figure out what those things are very quickly. I would have no problem with you coming up with that list. Siri wants to talk. Anyway, you probably can't hear her, but I can. So, because that disorganization is there, you feel scattered. And when we feel scattered, like we just talked about with the laundry room, you just don't want to do anything. Or when you have that overwhelm in your head and you're thinking about everything, you just want to go to the couch and veg out and watch either TV or eat something, or both. This is what feeds fear. Because how are the two connected? Because the disorganization feeds your fear that you're not going to be able to get everything done. So, which is really a fear of failure, right? You fear that you have so much to do that there's never any way that you're going to get done. So then you move into analysis paralysis. You can't make a decision on anything. You're paralyzed. You have too many things going on, too many things that need to be done. So you just don't want to do anything. And again, that's mental, but that's also physical. Like I said, you walk into the laundry room and you just want to walk out. You're like, I'm just not going to do anything. I'm going to deal with this another day. That disorganization, we can control that so that it is not a factor that feeds into the fear. So, how do we forge through that fear? By being organized. That's how we forge through. And how do we get organized? We make the decision that you can use the email principle, right? So I don't know what the email principle is called, but I heard it. I'm not taking credit for this. I heard it somewhere, I learned it, but it makes sense. There is, I believe, a name for it for the person who maybe introduced it. But ultimately, the email rule is you only touch the email once. So for those of you all who get lots of emails, as we probably all do with the many things that we've signed up for, so whether it's personal or whether it's work, but you only deal with an email once. How often do you start an email like you're going to go back to it, and then it just continues to stay in your inbox for days or weeks or months? And it's just crowding up your inbox, and that number at the top of your inbox is just getting larger because you have emails in there that you said you were going to go back to that you haven't had time to go back to because you've gotten more emails that cause you to have to do more stuff because email is a reactor often. And so you have to do these things, and then you don't really have time to go back and do the things that you started that you want to go back and review. It's a vicious cycle. How do you fix that cycle? When you get your email, when you open an email, you set a designated time to say, I'm going to deal with email for 30 minutes. And then every single email that you deal with, you open it once and you deal with it once. It either gets filed in a folder, move to a folder because you're going to, whatever you do with that folder, it gets deleted. It gets responded to. It gets blocked, whatever, but you deal with it. And then you move to the next one. But you never have to deal with that email again, per se. And what it does is it makes you feel empowered, which is the opposite of fear. Because you can check off, excellent. I am making significant step-by-step process to reduce the amount of emails that I'm receiving or have received. And I am making legitimate, intentional progress toward handling the business that is coming to me in my email. That builds confidence because you see yourself making progress. And progress is always going to be one of the things that helps us forge through fear. So in your life, when it comes to the laundry room, it looks like a tornado hit it. You set 10 minutes aside, just 10, and you say, I'm going to do whatever I can in the laundry room for 10 minutes. I promise it'll be better than if you did nothing. And then you feel like you've then not only feel, but you've made intentional progress toward it. And it helps to reduce the fear of, oh my goodness, it will always look this way. Intentionality in attacking the thing that is disorganized. In your mind, we talked about the 12 different things that you need to do. Put it on paper, write it down, get it out of your mind, then prioritize it or put it in your phone, whatever you use. But that is that's an action step to forge through fear. To say, this is the disorganization that is current. This is the intentional step. I am choosing to become organized that helps me see my way in the path of forging through fear. So it's very important to recognize the things that are feeding into our fear, and then also to recognize the one action that we can take to forge through fear. So I want to give that to you today. And as always, as I say, make sure that you're doing the activity and the work that allows you to forge through fear as we are talking about it. So the work that I'm giving you to do so that you can create and design the future that you want to be reality. Let's go.